Montenegro had a very strong growth after the recovery from the pandemic, and after growing 6.4% in 2022, last year is also expected to be very strong. So the first 3 quarters showed 6.6% growth, much more than most of the forecasters expected. So it's highly likely that that growth might be above 6% last year. And of course, this very high base for this year's growth means that most probably this year's growth will not be as strong as the previous ones, but still one can expect reasonably strong growth this year as well. There were several factors contributing to this strong growth of the previous 2 years. One is that the tourist sector was recovering from the pandemic, and also the inflow of Russian tourists and citizens boosted the tourism revenues and also boosted economic growth in general in Montenegro. This most probably is rather a one-off factor. So again, one cannot expect this to repeat forever, but still the tourist sector growth has a sustainable element as well. Montenegro has a lot to offer, but it's also important to focus in the future on how to improve this tourist offering further in order to sustain growth. So diversifying the offer, increasing the quality of services, offering more types of services outside of the seaside and outside of the traditional 4 months season. Also, inflation has been going down, so it has moderated significantly by the end of the year, and while wage growth has been continuing quite strongly, and overall we see a good prospect for this year at 3.7% according to the last forecast which we made in September. Other forecasters are also expecting somewhere between 3.5% growth for this year. I would like to put this issue of economic growth in a broader context, at least in a regional context, and talk shortly about how growth can be sustained or accelerated in the Western Balkans, including in Montenegro. And the question is this present economic convergence, economic growth is fast enough to converge to EU income standards in a foreseeable future? And what we see is that the gap in living standards is still large. Montenegro, of course, has the highest per capita income level in the Western Balkans, but still, overall, the Western Balkans average GDP per capita is about half of the new EU member states or the southern EU countries, and about 1/3 of the most advanced European countries. Montenegro has higher levels in each respect, but still well below that levels. And the main issue behind this big income gap, and also the relatively slow convergence in the past basically 10-13 years, is the low productivity level, low productivity growth, which has not changed basically since 2000 in the past 2 decades, and not at all since the global financial crisis. So the most important driver of economic growth in these past 20 years has been rather growing employment and not increasing the productivity of labor. So, and there is two distinct periods to see in this past 24 years, basically up to the global financial crisis, up to 2009, the economic growth and growth differential compared to the European Union has been very strong, around 4 percentage points, and that has gone down significantly after the global financial crisis. So we made a few scenarios, how long it would take to converge to the EU average income level at different growth rates. If we are taking the growth rates experienced before the global financial crisis, that would take around 7 decades for the Western Balkans economies to converge to EU income levels. With the optimistic scenario, taking the growth rates before the global financial crisis, it would be around 2 decades. And if we take an average of the two, that would be, and our baseline scenario is around 4 decades. So this is still quite a long time, but there are opportunities to accelerate this convergence, to accelerate growth in the Western Balkans, and we see three main factors to this. One factor is better governance, reform in the public administration, reform increasing the efficiency of state-owned enterprises. There has been an IMF report a few years back which showed, for example, that in the case the economic efficiency of state-owned enterprises, for example, in Serbia is increased to the level of the private enterprises, that could raise the GDP by 2%, which is a huge amount, huge boost to the income level. So it's worth looking at this opportunity. Regulations are still complex in the Western Balkans, so there are opportunities to ease them to help private investment. And of course, the basic rule of law improvements are also very important. It is important to say that the higher the level higher the income level of the country, the more important these governance issues are becoming, and the more important are to improve economic growth in the future. The second important element is openness, trade openness most importantly. There has been a lot of important steps taken in this respect. There are initiatives by the Western Balkans countries like the Open Balkans Initiative, and also by the EU, which is trying to create a common regional market. Still, the openness is somewhat below that of the new EU member states in Central and Eastern Europe. And last but not least, the green transition is very important. So increasing the share of renewables in the energy mix is not only helping to improve the health outcomes, but it is supporting export competitiveness, and equally importantly, it's becoming cheaper than the traditional means of producing energy.